Now we'll start refining more of the details on our sculpture.
So now I have my piece all roughed out, right? And now it's time to start smoothing and refining the form a little bit. And so now I'm gonna switch up. I might use my butter knife a little bit, but I'm gonna switch up my pace a little bit and kind of, before my focus was on removing material and getting the overall form. And now I'm really gonna be paying attention to the texture and the details. So, right now it's kind of got these chunky rough marks. I have some serrated marks from the knife, which I don't want. Like, I know from my sketches that I want this inside to be really smooth. So I'm gonna really kind of slow down and just spend some time removing some of that texture and some of the rougher marks, right? Like, I want this curve right here to be a little smoother, and so I'm gonna kind of go in and just try to smooth that out. I'm just gonna spend some time really slowly working around, trying to improve my craftsmanship, right? Craftsmanship is how well something is made. And by showing care to detail like this, I am improving my craftsmanship. There we go. So that curve right there is starting to look a little bit smoother. I'm just going to keep spending some time with that. There we go. And that interior curve is a little jagged right now, so I'm just going to use my tool to just smooth that out. There we go. I'm thinking right now, if I had music on and you all weren't watching, I would be playing something maybe kind of slow and relaxing. Something that would help me concentrate and not maybe hype me up too much. Because with this part, I want to make sure I'm concentrating and going nice and slow, staying focused. You can see I'm kind of working my way around this form here a little bit. There we go. This curve looks a little blocky, so I'm gonna try to refine that a little. Edge there. Soap kind of changes texture right here in this one spot. It feels like maybe it dried out a little bit in one spot, which you may not know this, but soap can do that. And so I'm just trying to be extra. Whenever the soap has dried out, it feels a little tougher, a little scratchier whenever I'm carving it, and so I'm just trying to make sure I don't go too deep there and get my tool caught on anything and make a gash in it. There we go. That's looking better. Okay, look at that. That curve is coming along nicely there. So I'm just gonna keep working my way around that form, trying to make sure these edges are transitioning how I want them to. And the feel of this piece is really sort of organic and flowing. So that's why I want my primary contour to be so, oops, I gashed that there a little bit, didn't I? Oh well, just take a little bit more off than I thought it would. No biggie. But what I was saying was this piece has this really kind of organic, smooth kind of flow to it, and so that's what I'm gonna really try to, that's why I'm really paying attention to the curves on this, in both the primary and the secondary contour of this hole here, because I think for this piece it's gonna be important, excuse me, that it feels like it's flowing and smooth. Now I could contrast this if I want to, right? Like what if I made one edge really sharp or something like that? That could be interesting, but that's not what I'm doing in this piece. Maybe that's what you're doing in your piece. I don't know. Okay. Feels a little dry right there in that spot. Also. Okay. Good lighting is really helping me here because it's really helping me see the contours and kind of how things are dipping and flowing and where material needs taken off and where I need to leave it be. So do make sure you're doing this with good light. It'll help you see the surface that much better. Okay, and so you can see these smaller marks, right, are taking off less material. So it's taking me more time to work over the form, but that's okay, because we're getting into detail. Right, this is about smoothing and refining edges. I'm going to smooth this out a little bit here. I certainly hope you all don't mind the smell of the soap. I tried to, it said unscented, but I don't know, unscented soap still smells, I guess. So, who knew? I don't know if you guys use bar soap. This definitely smells soapy. Here we go. There we go. All right, I'm feeling pretty happy with how this is coming so far. Just kind of working my way around it. Okay, and I'm just gonna check to see how it sits. You can, yep, okay. I'm just gonna keep working, flipping back to this side. I kind of worked to this edge over here, and now I'm coming and working on this side. Because I'm trying to work around this whole thing, right? That's what's gonna keep this nice and even, developing at a steady pace. And it's gonna hopefully keep any major mistakes at bay. You can see I'm really able now to start really refining some of those curves. And I'm constantly checking the profile of everything, making sure we're staying on the right track. There we go. All right. And you can see that by taking off smaller amounts of material at a time, I'm getting a slightly smoother surface, which is a great place to be. Okay, this is looking a lot more refined, isn't it? That's good. These curves are looking all right. Just got to work on this one last little bit. I think, right? Got to stop and check it though. Yeah. Yeah. We're just about ready for some texture. And then you can start all over again on the next one. And now if you're doing 2 at a time, it might be helpful. You might think about kind of working on them both simultaneously, like block them both out, make sure the relationship between them looks good as you go. Or you can kind of work one at a time, and then you'll have to kind of be a little more creative on the fly in case the relationship between them doesn't look quite right. You'll have to be willing to go back and make edits. All right. Okay, that's looking, yeah, I think that's looking pretty good so far. Just gonna kind of round out this bottom a little bit so it's not so blocky and sitting flat on the table. Actually, it could be interesting to add a little curve in there. Actually, you know what? I think I might go ahead and do that. Look at me getting creative on the fly. I have to take off a little bit more to make it a little bit more dramatic, but that's okay. Okay, let's try this now. Okay, so this just got a little more interesting. Yeah, I really kind of like the way that doesn't have a flat bottom anymore, right? That sculpture. And what I did there, by taking out that little chunk on the bottom, that just adds a little bit more negative space, which is part of the project. So I'm glad I had that idea as I was working with it, right? And so that's a good example of how, you know, as you're working, keep the project requirements in mind and definitely look for opportunities to engage with them. In this case, the project requirements are creative use of negative and positive space and making 2 forms that relate to each other. There we go. Okay, so now I would say I am ready to start smoothing and adding texture. Really kind of the final step of refining it.
Our sculpture mostly finished, now it's time to start thinking about texture.